All right, this is seventh grade, chapter 6, 6.2. I'm on page 277 in the book, so please look with me as we go. 277. The key word is absolute value. The absolute value of a number is the distance a number is away from zero. A number is from zero. Now here's one thing that's important, is distance is never negative. So absolute value is always a positive number. So let me show you an example. Here's the number line. Oops, that's a 2. -3, -4. 1, 2, 3. Absolute value is used with straight lines. So this is the absolute value signs right here. So write those down so you recognize it. So it would be, a problem would be like this. What is the absolute value of -4? So basically it's just asking you how far is -4 from 0. So if you're at -4 and you're going to trek on out and walk to 0, how many steps would you take? 1, 2, 3, 4. You wouldn't take a negative amount of steps. It's still 4, whether you're starting on the left side of the 0 or the right side of the 0. So absolute value is never negative. So you just are looking at the number. The -4 is worth 4. Okay, whether it's negative or positive, it's still 4 steps away from 0. So you could say, what's the absolute value of 3? How many steps is 3 away from 0? 3. So positive numbers stay positive, negative numbers become positive. So let's see how we're going to use this. All right. So example number 1, it says, let me go back here to the book, and that's, I don't know why it says writing reciprocals. I don't think that's right. Example number 1 is using a number line. So it says, find the sum of -5 plus -3 using a number line. So the first thing you do using a number line is we have all negatives, so let me make my number line here real quick. Okay, you start at 0 always, and the first number tells you which direction and how far you're going to move. Negatives move to the left, and positives move to the right. So the first thing you're going to do is move -5. So I'm going to go -5 this way. And then plus, from there, I'm going to go another 3, and those are negative. And I ended up at -8. So -5 plus -3 is -8. And that's just using a number line. And we'll talk in a second about not using a number line, and we'll get to that with the next examples coming up. Okay, so here's their pictures. I should have just used their picture. 5 units to the left because it's negative, 3 more, -8. Okay, so it says the number line shows the changes of the atom described above. Which expression represents the total charge of the model? Okay, so you always start at 0, so this is our starting point. So the first thing they did is this blue line is they went to the right 11 places, so that's a positive 11. So we rule out A because it starts with a -11. And then it went back 10 to the left, which is -10. So it's going to be B. There we go. Okay, so use a number line to find the sum. So here we are. Here's 0, -1, -2. I should number by 2's. We won't always do this, so don't panic on me. Okay, so the first thing, we start at 0 and the first number is -9. So I go over to the left, -9 right here. And then I add on another 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which puts me at -14. So -9 plus -5 using a number line, because that's what they asked me to do, is -14. So I'm kind of seeing, when you add 2 negatives, guess what happens? It stays negative. So this one, we got a negative and a positive this time. So I'm going to have to go to -7. So let me -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So the first step is to go to -7. So that's to the left. And then I got a +4, so I have to go back to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which puts me at -3. So -3 plus 4 is, or excuse me, -7 plus 4 is -3. And one way I look at it is like, I owe you $7, I paid you 4, I still owe you 3. So you end up subtracting on that problem to get a 3. Oh, whoops. I couldn't see the problem. It ended up over. Let me erase it. Okay, so over here, 6 plus -13, so we're still doing a number line. This time I'm going to number by 2's. 2, 4, 6, -2, -4, -6, -8. I don't know how much I need. Okay, so starting at 0, the first thing I'm going to do is go to the right 6 places. And then I have to go to the left because it's -13 places. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 would be right in between right there. So the number between -8 and -6 is -7. And it agrees. 12 plus 9, so here's my number line. I'm going to number by 2's again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I start at 0, it's +12. So I go to the right 12, and then up, and I go back to the left 9, which puts me at 3. So 12 plus -9 is +3. Okay, so that's using a number line. So let's move now to using the absolute value. It says find the absolute value of the number. And I know they don't have the signs on these. I don't know why. They should put the signs on them like this. But because of the directions, we know we're finding the absolute value. So how far is 8 away from 0? 8. How many spaces is -7 away from 0? 7. How far is 0 away from 0? None. Absolute value is 0. So it's the distance it is from 0, and they're never negative. And so they're drawing the pictures for you. That's it. Okay, so what's the absolute value of 100? It's 100 steps from 0. What's the absolute value of -9? It's 9 steps from 0, so it would be 9. -45, it's 45 steps from 0, so therefore the absolute value is 45. How far is 22 from 0? 22. That's it. They're always positive. Okay, so this one's kind of big. I'm on the bottom of page 278, if you will look along with me, and I will try to put some numbers in here as examples so you guys can see. I kind of didn't have enough room when I was typing this. So this is the key concept, adding integers with absolute values. Now I do this, I just look at the numbers, and when you just look at the numbers, it's the same as doing the absolute values. Let me explain it with an example, okay? There's 3 situations that can happen when you add. You can add 2 numbers or 3 or whatever. You can add numbers that have the same signs. That means they're both positive, they're both negative. You can add numbers with different signs, meaning one is positive and one is negative. Or you can add opposites. One is +3, the other is -3. So those are the 3 situations. So let's look at 2 examples from each one. These are 2 positive numbers, and you guys have been adding numbers like this forever. So what's 10 plus 14? It's just 24. +10 plus +14 is +24. And notice the rule says add the absolute values and use the common signs. How far is 10 away from 0? 10. How far is 14 away from 0? 14. So you just take the numbers, you add them, and they're both still positive. So let's do negative. The example would be -7 plus -5. And they usually put parentheses just to separate the signs. So you add the absolute values. The absolute value of -7 is 7. The absolute value of -5 is 5. What's 7 plus 5? 12. And then use the common sign. What sign did they both have? Negative. So when the signs are the same, you simply add the numbers and keep the same sign. That's it. Okay? Now different signs. Let's move to the second one. You subtract the lesser absolute value from the absolute value. Did I write that right? No, from the greater. I left out a word right there. There should be greater right here. Absolute value, and use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. Now that's kind of Greek, so let's do it with an example and try to make it make sense. So example would be 13 plus negative 9. Okay, so just look at the numbers, 13 and 9. You take the biggest number and you put it on top, you subtract it. 13 minus 9 is 4. Is 4. Okay, so that's subtracting the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. Just 13 minus 9. And then use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. Are there more positives in this problem or more negatives? 13 is bigger than the 9, so there are more positives. So the answer would be positive 4. So let's do another one. Negative 11 plus 6. Okay, so you go, hey, they have different signs, so I subtract. So 11 minus 6 is 5, and there's more negatives, so it's negative 5. That's it. Okay, and then the last example, what's negative 4 plus positive 4? Anytime you add opposites, the answer is always 0. But even if you did it, you see, hey, they have different signs, so you subtract. Hey, what's 4 minus 4? 0. So it still works out, even if you use that rule. Okay, so take some time, write these down as examples, and then we'll get ready to do some more examples with these. So example number 4 says add the two integers using absolute value. I didn't type value up here. I should have put value. Sorry about that. So what you do is you look at the signs. That's the first step. So let's remind ourselves. The first thing you do is look at the signs. They're either the same or they're different. Okay? If they're the same, you add and keep the sign. If they're different, you subtract. And it's the sign of the bigger number. So we look at these and we go, hey, the signs are the same. So we add. 3 plus 12 is 15, and we keep the same sign, negative 15. Done. Okay, so this one we look, they're different. When they're different, you subtract. We have a 9 and a 7. 9 minus 7 is 2, and the positive is bigger, so it's positive 2. And another way to look at it is like this. Think money. You owe $7 and you have 9. If you pay back the 7 you owe, you would still have $2 in your pocket. Sometimes visually we can use integers. We would use like red chips. Negative would be red. There'd be 7. Here's another way to look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 9 would be black chips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And what these are opposites. A black chip and a red chip cancel out. Okay? So that's what we're doing when we are subtracting, is we are canceling. We're taking 7 red chips away with the 7 black chips. That leaves us 2 black ones, which is positive 2. So it's kind of a visual, that's a neat visual way to look at them. Okay? So using absolute values to find the sums, you look at the signs. They are the same. So you just add, and it stays the same, negative 16. These signs are different, so you subtract. 9 minus 6 is 3. There are more negatives than positives, so it's negative 3. This one's 0 plus negative 7. You just, anytime you add something to 0, it's just the same, negative 7. The signs are different, so you subtract. 15 minus 13, you always put the bigger number first. And they're more positive, so it's positive 2. I don't really have to put the plus in front of it, it's just 2. Again, the signs are different, so you subtract. 15 minus 8 is 7, and they're more positives, so it's positive 7. These are opposites, negative and negative, so we automatically know those are equal to 0. All right, example number 5, adding 3 or more integers. Aaron has kept track of his earnings and expenses for 1 week. Find the sum of his earnings and expenses. So they want us to add these up. Now, you can just start, you can only add 2 numbers at a time. So you could start and you could just go through and add this one with this one, and then plus this one, and then plus this one. But what you want to do when you have positives and negatives, it's easier to add the positives to the positives and the negatives to the negatives. So the first thing I do is I look and I see 12 and 13 are positive. So that makes a total of $25 to the positive. And then his negatives, if we add his negatives together, -5 and -3 make -8. So we get it down to 2 numbers. We put the positives together and the negatives together. And now the signs are different, so we subtract. Take 8 off of 25, which is, I can't think. 8 minus 25, 8 minus 20, 17, yeesh. And it would be positive 17. So he would still have $17 left after paying his expenses. And here's they're talking about adding the 2 numbers at a time if you'd like. Or you could just go, they're just going in order. But it's easier to add negatives to negatives, positives to positives. Okay? So in example 5, suppose Aaron records these earnings and expenses for a week. Find the sum in the earnings. So let's add the positives first. So 11 and 3 and 6, that's 9 plus 11 is 20. So positive 20. And -13 and -9 is -22. So after that week, Aaron is in the hole $2. He owes somebody $2. All right? So just be careful when you're adding and subtracting. If it says use a number line, please represent them on a number line. And I think that's it. We'll see you next time. Careful of the signs.